when you ask specifically about like culture, I've always gone to that, and I've always thought of like the aspect of culture being Africa, Europe, Asia, cultures that have been around lots of people for and their arts and their things. Because I grew up in a really creative family, and we were taught different cultures as we moved around the world as we grew up. So we were exposed to African culture, Asian
Mm,
culture, European culture, and I always looked at it that. So I really never looked at what I was doing as anything culturally relevant. My job was, coming up was making shoes for people to run around in. And that was the job. It wasn't like cool stuff for kids or like collectibles or anything like that. That came way later. So that's what culture means to me. I stick by it.
I love it. I love it, and I love how you went like real encyclopedia moment, like
I
literally
had to,
looked
I
at
mean,
you.
yeah, it's about as
But
smart as I'm going to get.
yeah, no, no, please. But what's even more inspiring behind that is that you teed up the evolution of how you then began to work in and create and be a part of cultures that we're going to kind of talk about, which is awesome. And you've already started kind of giving everyone a sense, but I'd love now who is Mark Smith, aka my Smitty. A little bit of your story.
My story, pretty straight ahead. I've broken it down into four chapters.
Is that written as well, or are we going? Look,
You
you're
depend.
looking.
It depends on if you're tracking my eyes. I was always drawing, and I was always in a creative family. Both my parents, my dad was a printmaker and an educator. My mom's a bookmaker and an educator, and together they have more degrees than I know, and they've added to the world of culture in their own right. And so I was always around that. So that's just the foundational background of who I am. I came up drawing. The best Christmas gifts were empty sketchbooks. They weren't coloring pads. They weren't
Mm,
anything referential. It was like come out of your mind. So I was always drawing, and art life was really the foundation for our entire family. Um, and so the next three chapters are I ended up in high school and doing a lot of art and music, and so art and music really played a lot. And then as I got into college, graphics and packaging and advertising were my kind of entry into. Started out actually as advertising. Got a degree in advertising. Went into the advertising world in the early mid '80s, and ended up really not loving the stuff I was doing ads for. And I was like, I want to design the things I'm doing ads for. So that kind of like shifted me.
gotcha.
And so then I went to Art Center and went in Pasadena and ended up getting educated in graphics and packaging and then into product design. So I was kind of always shifting, never happy in one place, but I kind of knew I didn't want to do advertising after a while. I was like, anybody, but I've got a lot of background in that, and that comes out in a lot of down the road. And then the next one was when I got into like being professional. I started in the apparel world, and I was doing apparel at a surf company at Maui and Sons, and then I went up to Nike, and I started. First 2 years at Nike were in apparel, but my notes here, remember the hustle. So it was always had the hustle on the side was always with either somebody in the company or somebody close to the company or somebody way away from the company and doing a lot of different things. So whether it was video editing or music production, being a second guitarist or a first guitarist in something and recording. So it was always like all this stuff. And then I got into footwear just by chance. Tinker hired me into footwear. He stole me from apparel, and then I stole my Mac with me when I left, and I became footwear guy. And then I got into innovation, and innovation became creative direction. So that was the next chapter, and then the final chapter, was management, going into Jordan, which was a trip. That's where we worked together.
We're going to talk about
Um,
that. We're going to talk about
yeah,
that.
can't wait to. I'm sure you remember it better than I do.
Yeah.
I think I've scrubbed some of that stuff out. It was a blast. And then kind of back to innovation, not back, but forward to innovation, which was management, get that under my belt, all the new tools. And then so, management in Jordan, and then kind of finishing out the Nike career in innovation, and really what I felt I really needed to kind of return to. So those are my four chapters. But the hustle, kind of the side hustle, was always like my thing because for a while my business card just said Smitty, what do you need, and that was it, and it was like so
Wow.
we just get stuff done, just get it done.
Listen, the business card that you just mentioned is so you. I've never received one of your business cards, but knowing you and seeing you, that literally is
Yeah.
your business card. You get things done, and
Yeah,
you have literally played an integral part. I mean, in shaping footwear culture, and I witnessed it firsthand in the
it's
early
cool.
part of your career, to some of your more recent achievements, even like creating the NBA Michael Jordan MVP trophy, which is incredible. And we're going to get to that soon enough. But throughout this journey, I can say that you not only represented what I feel is a culture of evolution with all that you put your hands on, but also a culture of consistency. And the consistency showed up in your efforts of delivering excellence, and then even your persona, I think, in remaining super humble, as people are seeing or feeling already, kind, super down to earth, and all the things. And for that, I want to take a moment just to applaud you, firstly,
Thank
for
you,
that.
I appreciate that.
Right?
And I feel like we connect on that too because you're looking right in the mirror. Same thing. I mean, I would use those same
Ah,
adjectives and descriptives for you, and I think that's why we got along great.
yes, yes, the brotherhood. And
Takes one
so
to know one kind of
it,
thing.
that part, and to appreciate. So footwear obviously plays a significant role in shaping culture as we know it. And with all that you've had your hands on over the years, was there ever like a particular moment where you realized just how big and instrumental this footwear culture was to overall culture as we know it today?
It's strange. There were a few moments that hit me between the eyes.
Okay.
One of them was, and I didn't. This was more of a personal, professional piece. It didn't occur to me how much of a reach the work I would do
Mm,
would actually show up in the world.
mm-hmm.
You're sitting there, you're doing some work, and then you hand it off, and then there's another project and another one, another one. Pretty soon, it's like it's the factory, and it's just going down the road. But my first trip to Europe with Nike, I remember walking down the street and just seeing the logo I did. It was the Force logo, and it was on a pair of bright, I don't know, 1990. I don't know what they were, but they were cool. And there was like a logo, and it's walking toward me on the streets, and I just thought, it just flipped me out. So that was like a personal piece. Like, wow, I did that. It came out of my head. It's on product that's walking to me, and I have an unexpected reaction to that. It was kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
really, really cool. But if you
And they
flip,
weren't playing basketball. They weren't playing basketball when those
they
logos.
were not playing basketball. They were walking on the street.
There you
So
go.
I didn't. It didn't. To me, I kind of was easier with understanding because I was never a hoop. I never played basketball. I think there's 5 guys on the court. I don't even follow. Like I don't know, man. But the idea was I knew that we were branding. To me, that
Yeah.
was a natural
Yep.
branding
Yep.
and it was sub branding. It was within a category, and now it became its own thing.